Well, from equities, we move into the domestic commodities market space, and today we are focusing on aluminium. And Tumike Olowe, one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company, is here to take us through that. But first, we'll look at the burning economic issues and what they could mean for the domestic commodities market. Good morning, Tumike. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Chimere.
All right, the first quarter GDP number, that's one of the burning economic issues now. Yes, Nigeria is growing, but at a slower pace. But then one would ask, what does these GDP numbers really mean for an average Nigerian?
Okay, if you look at the data, you realize that from quarter 4 to quarter 1, there was actually a slow pace. But looking at it year on year, the GDP actually increased to 2.01 from 1.89. But also looking at what exactly happened to the different sectors, you would notice that the upside, we have the real estate, we have the transport sector moving up. The real estate was able to get positive growth after 3 years of negative growth. And basically, this isn't surprising because the real estate is a lagging sector. Nigeria entered into an economic recession in 2016. So the real estate has been able to experience growth 3 years after the recession. And basically, what this could mean is that house rent may fall, but that would be in a case where supply of real estate is more than the demand. So this will make price fall. But obviously, if the reverse is the case for the demand and the supply, then obviously we're going to have a reverse direction. And also the transport industry, you notice that the elections was this year, and then governments tried to speed up their projects, construction projects, so this led to the growth in the transport sector. Then on the other side, for the downside,
the GDP numbers, yeah.
Yes, for the downside, the trade sector, the whole and retail trade, and also the manufacturing sector actually declined. And what could really be responsible for this is the government restrictions that we're having now, import substitution. So if you're looking at the GDP from an ordinary man's perspective, basically what we should be looking at is the rate at which our population is growing and the rate at which the GDP is growing. But you would notice that the population growth is like around 2.7%, while GDP is 2.01. So population is growing faster than GDP. But also we expect increase in activities in coming quarter. The minimum wage bill has been passed, so Nigerians are going to have their disposable income is going to increase. So this would increase the level of activity. Also, we expect the president to sign the 2019 budget, and this would lead to an increase in activity, although the budget isn't necessarily expansionary.
All right. Now, let me take you up from that downside, the manufacturing GDP down by 1.54%, whole and retail trade also down. Now, what is the implication of that now for the domestic commodity market?
Okay, if you look at the domestic commodities now, you realize that the tomato price has gone up. You would also see that thermovita has gone up. You would see that wheat prices, constant rice has gone up, and basically the commodities are affected by the planting season, and they all have different planting seasons. So this is what's affecting them. So obviously, if productivity isn't increased, despite consumers having more disposable income, this is going to put pressure on inflation. And you can see from the last results released in April that inflation actually went up. So if productivity isn't increased, this is going to affect it.
All right. Now, it's MPC decision day, and a lot of analysts expect the rates to, remain unchanged. How do you think whichever direction the committee decides to go later today will actually impact the domestic commodity market?
Okay, the popular notion is that they're going to keep the rate stable, and this is basically because, okay, inflation rate increased, and then relatively they still want to see the effect of the decline they made in the first quarter to 13.5. They basically want to see how the market reacts to this. before making a certain decision. So they are going to hold that position for a while now. So obviously this is going to just keep domestic markets relatively stable. We might say a positive growth, but the impact isn't going to be much, especially if something dynamic isn't done to push it.
Now, let's look at the currency market. The Naira, currently trading flat at 361 to the dollar at the parallel market. Well, that's the market. A lot of us ask us, should this be a concern at the moment?
At the moment, it isn't cause for much concern because the interventions the government has been making recently has kept the currency at a stable level. And so if these interventions keep on being made, and then if the MPC is going to leave the rate stable because they're trying to judge the reactions from the different stakeholders in the economy. So if this is kept stable, basically, this is going to have an impact.
All right, let's look at the commodity in focus, and that's aluminium. Why aluminium? Why do we have to talk about it?
Okay, aluminium is actually a very profitable business. Aluminium composition is basically made of bauxite, and then aluminium can be used. It's used for window frames. It's used in toothpaste packages. It's used for beverage cans. So basically, aluminium has a lot of importance. And then global production of aluminium right now is around 63 million tons, with China, India, and Canada accounting for majority of the production. China contributes like 57% of total production. Also, China's exports of the product is mainly to Asian countries, and they themselves consume a large percentage of that. And that is why there's still a deficit within the market. That is, the supply has been unable to meet the demand for aluminium. And then also, if you come to Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, you see that Ghana produces around 1.14 million tons of bauxite, and that only contributes 0.2% to global production.
So in other words, Nigeria has got some potentials in this particular, to produce this particular commodity.
Yes, we have the potential because...
So what exactly now is the challenge there? What are the challenges our producers of this commodity are facing?
Okay, Nigeria right now, the production of our aluminium is basically marginal. And aluminium is an energy-intensive good. And basically, one of the challenges that's affecting it is power supply, insufficient power supply. There's also logistic issues. But the thing is that there's actually a readily available market for it because it's used in various things. Like I said before, window frames, beverage cans. So there's market for it. So
and a quick one, what can the government do to actually harness, this potential?
I think a major thing the government can do is actually address the issue of power supply, and then the logistics also, they could also do something about it.
All right, thank you, Tumike, for your time. Tumike Olowo is one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company. Well, we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll look at some of the possible considerations by the MPC as they conclude their meetings today. Just stay with us.